Hi, I'm Josh Cadillac, and welcome to my podcast, Know Your Shit. I've been blessed to see great success, as well as seeing the bottom up close and personal in 2008. And if there's one lesson I've learned, is that if you want to have success and differentiate yourself from everyone else out there, you need to know your shit. As a successful real estate and crypto investor and an educator, it drives me insane that people do not immerse themselves in their craft. Everyone is so busy advertising and testing new sales techniques, they forget the most important thing, the product. Here I want to talk to the folks that got this right, the most successful people in the world in every industry. Bring them to you and find out what they learned in their business that made it great. When you listen to my podcast, you will know for sure that the topics and experts we have on have one thing in common. They know their shit. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to excellence. My name is Josh Cadillac, and I'll be in the driver's seat for today's show as we strive to learn how to stop doing deals and start closing for life. We have a great show for you today, as always, but today especially so because we are joined by Maurice Philogene. Mr. Maurice, how are you, buddy? Welcome to the show.
Fantastic, and thank you you even pronounced the last name with a little bit of the French accent.
You know, down here,
might be near Miami.
Down here, I have a lot of friends that are from Haiti, so
man.
I've learned.
You picked it up. Yep, my family's from Haiti, and I got a lot of relatives that live in and out of Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Good stuff, man. So, without me trying to butcher what you do, Maurice, why don't you tell everybody here what exactly it is you do in your own words?
Yeah, man. I pattern myself a freedom fighter.
I love it.
I fight for freedom. I'm 47 years old. I'm out of the W-2 rat race, if you will. 25-year executive at a global consulting firm, 22 years in the military as lieutenant colonel and federal agent, and then 15 years as a street cop in DC. Somehow I found a way to do all of them at the same time. Wow. But with respect to the podcast and you and I shooting the breeze, I've always been a real estate investor. It was never related to the money. I found real estate when I was 21. I found the phrase passive income in a book. Fairfax County, Virginia Library became my friend instead of hitting the weekend in town or what have you. And I started buying single family condos from 2002 to 2015 that earned me my financial freedom. I started Quattro Capital 3 years ago to do large scale apartment complex syndications with a few other partners who are my family now. I think we've done 26 apartment complexes in just under 3 years. So we've been busy. And then lastly, I am very much an avid traveler. So I spend a lot of time overseas, but it's a lifestyle thing, Josh. That's why I said, when you said your intro about real estate has more to do with life, I love that, because what I'm doing in the Mediterranean now, developing real estate, was never about money. It was, look, man, you've lived East Coast your whole life. You've traveled around the world. Wouldn't it be nice to be a meaningful part of a business community somewhere else? So I sought out real estate in the Mediterranean, and I'm on my third development project now.
Beautiful. That's gonna be a tremendous learning curve with all the international laws, all the differences in the ways they do that. That's super interesting stuff. I loved so much of what you said, because I agree. I'm actually in the process right now of writing a book. I just got a book deal and writing a book called Close for Life.
Nice.
And it's talking about how to take and be a real estate agent that doesn't just close deals, but closes in such a way that you do your work in such a way that people would never work with anybody else but you ever again.
Love it.
So, like, you become their guy. I mean, I know for me, I need somebody and I have somebody that's good, and somebody says, hey, I need a plumber or something. I say, oh, I got a guy. You got to use my guy.
Right.
How do you become that? And there's a reason. The reason for it transcends, and it's kind of to the point that you made a minute ago. It transcends the business. If you do your business with real standards, if you do your business with excellence, you now have a business that you're proud to be associated with. You go to work to do something great every single day. You know, people don't think of real estate agent up there with brain surgeon, but here's the thing.
Right.
I don't care what it is that I do. If I'm the one doing it, I need to do it well, because that's the standards I have for my life. When I go to work, I know I'm going to something that is being done with excellence and well. And that gives you work that you're proud to be associated with. It makes your life a better life, as opposed to this view that we have of life where work is something that we do to distract us or that we do to pay the bills for real life.
Yeah.
There's not a connection. People are unwilling to connect themselves with their work in a meaningful way. And then that entire segment of their life becomes an unmeaningful place that they go, that they just survive.
Yeah. You know, if people would, with what they do, whether it's a side hustle or the main hustle, if they would say with it, what's in it for them? What's in it for the person you are working for? What's in it for your client? What's in it for your investor? What's in it for your family member? What's in it for them? If you can't find something in it for the person that you are serving, there's a problem.
Absolutely.
It really is a problem. And if you can find it, man, then you are onto something, because you're doing something that will, one, pay you money, and two, help somebody out one way or the other. So I use that phrase with it all the time when I'm talking to people.
Well, I mean, the idea that, this system really works. Everybody wants to take and rip the system that we have now. I don't know why, but they want to rip it and say it's all about greed. And I just can't see that, because the first thing I have to do to figure out how to get ahead in the system that we're in right now is figure out what somebody else needs and how I can get it to them better than they can get it someplace else, because that person is fully empowered to go seek that thing that I'm trying to bring to them anywhere they want to. Nobody's got a gun to their head saying they got to use me.
Right.
And so that freedom is a tremendous, tremendous power that they have, and that I have as well when it comes to how I use my money.
Yeah.
And not respecting that and trying to take and build into that, giving people an experience they can't get someplace else. That's where the gray matter should go.
That's huge. But people don't think about that. They go straight to the money. But you've got your stuff together if you're thinking that way, because the more we can help people, the more good stuff tends to loop back towards us anyway. Sure. So you might as well do it the right way. And no, there's nothing wrong with, I call it conscious capitalism now.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with it. No, I was not much of a money guy before. I was much more of a public servant guy, military, street cop. Like, I'm just blue collar, no collar kind of world, but I exist in the white collar world. When you start making money and when you start collecting assets the way that we do, you start to see that, oh, wait a minute, your goals change, because when you have it, you can actually do more to help people.
Absolutely.
And that's what I never figured out a long time ago, is the people who are wealthy, who seem to be always like doing this philanthropic thing or a charity thing or something else. It's not some happenstance, oh, I'm going to do this just because. It seems money makes you more of who you are. So if you can make more of it, you can go be more of who you are. And if you were a good, gentle, kind person, you were giving before, you were thinking about with it, so what have you. That's why now when my boys will come to me, and I grew up in Boston, and they'll be like, man, you're doing all this stuff, you forget. I don't forget anything. It's just that I have more ability to help different people, so I go and do that now. But this stuff is a good thing.
Absolutely. No, and I'm sure as a police officer and all, you've seen it. There's all kinds of help, air quotes inserted, that can be given, but help that genuinely helps people to get out of their own way, as opposed to taking and trying to in some way prop up the way that they're doing things that isn't that well. There's a difference between help that helps and help that hurts.
Yeah.
And so one of the big people I'm a fan of, and honestly, what you said at the beginning, it kind of gave me goosebumps, because this was his big thing, was Andrew Carnegie. Mm-hmm. He refused to give money to anyone. One of the most philanthropic guys that ever existed. His big things was libraries and church organs. Those are the things that he gave away, because the church was the only place that people could go and hear music. Wow. And he thought it was important. And libraries gave people a chance to change their life themselves.
Big time.
Yeah. You can't give it to him, he said. You can't give it to him.
No, you can't. And that's why, speakers such as yourself, coaches such as yourself, I coach too. Those things cannot be given away because people don't see value on top of them, unfortunately. Absolutely. It's an uncanny thing, but it does happen. But on the when you said that about Carnegie, I had no idea he said that. That makes sense to me. In my case, what I do is I have a mantra on the philanthropy side that I don't want to give to organizations. It's not my thing. And there's nothing wrong with United Way and all those things. It's fine. But my take on life, because of everywhere I've been all over the world, is what can I do to change someone's decade in that moment? Like, what can you do? You can pay for someone's cancerous tumor to be removed, and now they have a lifetime ahead of them. You know, you can. I do a lot of stuff in the Mideast, and one thing came to mind. My oldest son is autistic, so I'm very partial to kids who are on the spectrum. But imagine being on the spectrum in a country that has no services, right? So in that case, my little guy Christian, who's a kind of an adopted kid now, but paying for 2 years of a one-on-one tutor to be with him wherever he goes. That's going to change that kid's life. Like that's why this real estate stuff that we do is so powerful. It gives us cash flow to live off of. It also gives us equity to grow for family and legacy. But then it allows you to go do amazing things with amazing people around the world. And then I end up finding people such as yourself, right, who get it. Yes, real estate is good, but it's not the real estate. It's what it can do for you.
Sure.
What it can do for you and your life and your investors and your residents as well. That's what makes it such a powerful thing.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's just so much there to unpack in general, because, when we do real estate, we are making the world a better place. We are bringing a product to market that the market has a demand for, and we're doing it with excellence. And life is too short for anything short of excellence. And this is one of the things that people phone in. And one of the things, and you say you coach that, and I do as well. And you probably pick the excuses that people give themselves that always. They buy into. And the second that you call them out on it and they realize it, the ability to make progress once we stop lying to ourselves is so huge. And so many people use the excuses like, oh, well, it's exploitation. The system is rigged against me and all this kind of stuff. And it's all an excuse that gives you a pass to not go out there. You're actually depriving not only yourself, but the world of what you're capable of. And this is really a sad thing to me. I struggle with that when I see people that I know have things that they could bring to the table. Yeah, and they just don't. And they bought into a lie that keeps them from achieving what they're capable of. And I mean, especially with all the stuff that's going on. I mean, in the syndication model, the advent of tokenization and what all of that can mean as far as taking and democratizing that investment model so that, your cost threshold can fall precipitously to get in. Now we could even have kids participate. I mean, I go and teach.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. I go to teach at a school and they'll give me a $25 gift card for the kid that participates best. And I'm sitting here saying, I'm talking to these kids about underconsumption and not blowing their money. And you're giving me a way for them to go blow more money.
That's exactly. Well, but that's what they know how to do. Isn't that what formal education knows how to do?
Oh my God.
Tell people to go spend, go do those things,
Absolutely. Become a non-thinking drone.
Well, yeah. I post about that stuff all the time. I value formal education. I do. I'm an engineer by formal education. It's important. But do you remember like when you and I were in kindergarten, it was all creation. It was all creative. Everything was creative, like throw stuff at the wall, paint here, get gooey over here. Let's go on this field trip. Creative. Then we get to grade school and middle school and compliance starts to set in. Yes, sir. No, sir. Bring this permission slip home. Let's do this. Then we get to high school and college and it's competition.
Yep.
It is who's the valedictorian, who's the MVP, who's the number one kid on the field, who's the prom king and queen. And that translates into the work world where now we're going after titles and things of that nature. We could have been creating from the beginning, Josh, doing more deals together, creating more equity together, creating more opportunity for people together. But that's not what we are actually taught to do. We're taught to actually compete against each other.
Absolutely. No, and it's, I was just reading a book on it. I'm trying to remember what the name of the book was on formal education. It's called, cleverly enough, it's called Skip College. Was the name of the book. My move actually, Maurice, was I didn't go to college out of high school. Oh, right. I had businesses established. I went on and I started working right away. And then in my 30s, I decided to go back and see what I missed, take my wallet out and pay for it. To school. I went back to college in the evenings, part-time. I didn't need it, but I mean, I always, It's different when you go to school, like, because I just want to know, like, they know stuff I don't know that I'd like to know. I mean, I listen to a tremendous number of audiobooks. I like knowing. I like understanding how this big, beautiful world works. Like, I don't look at ride a roller coaster and just ride it. I look and see how many wheels they have, how do they take, and I'm a curious guy.
Yeah.
So I went back,
Mm-hmm.
and I was blown away at how poor the scholarship was in general. Like, I had all these professors making all these proclamations about how the world should work, which, by the way, they all had tremendous opinions on how the world should work,
Of course. Yeah.
but no ability to actually back it up or actually think through what they're talking about. I mean, I'm in business. I know that, like, we should tell all the employees they don't get any breaks. Well, you know what? There might be some consequences to that. Like, you can't just mandate stuff. There's fallout, right?
Yeah.
The idea of fallout was like not present. And it was such a shocking thing to me, because I mean, the level of confidence with everything they said, I mean, it was, handed down from God, obviously. And I'm sitting here like, well, wait a second, guys, little problem, that just doesn't work.
No.
And so I walked out of college recognizing that I didn't miss much, and with 3 of my college professors as investors in my fund, because they had no idea how money worked themselves.
Yep.
Like, they were begging me, like, help me, I don't know what to do. And I'm saying, like, how can you not know how money works and be sitting here making proclamation about how the world works? Because it's an integral part. I mean, it's the placekeeper that we have for exchanging goods for value, or for services for value. It was mind blowing and disconcerting to me, honestly, because if that's the next exposure you have, then when you go out into the real world, you're not prepared for it.
No, you're not. And then it lends itself to, not surprised. I'm happy to hear that you went back. So now you can see, in certain cases, you might miss something, right?
Sure.
In certain cases, we need doctors to go to school. We need nurses to go to school. We need that stuff, right?
Of course.
But the rest of it, no, it forces us to do self-education when we get out of school. I'm so grateful I found it. And it was just random. I picked up a book in New York City when I was visiting a family member. And that's how my real estate journey started at 21. Sorry, personal finance journey and then real estate journey started at 21. No one told me about it in school. No one told me that I had the right to even buy assets. No one explained passive income. No one explained cost segregation or depreciation, or what's the new one I just got? I was spending time with a business partner, and this guy's in the billion range. He's a B.
He's a B.
Buy, borrow, die. He was telling me about buy, borrow, die.
Yeah.
Intrinsically, I knew what he meant, but I'm like, well, what do you mean? Because I wanted to hear him say it. And he said exactly that. He says, I've been buying assets for 10, 20, 30 years. It's going to be 30 years before I'm done. I'm going to leverage all of them to the hilt. And all these insurance policies that I have now, when I die, it's going to pay them all off and the family's going to have them.
Beautiful.
I was like,
and
that's the type of stuff we need to be learning.
And a stepped up basis. So you're not going to have to take and deal with the 1031s anymore. You're going to have the properties free and clear with none of that. Yep. All that garbage is gone. All the deferred capital gains and the deferred cost, the cost recovery tax, all handled.
All gone. All gone. It's amazing what is out there if you can go seek it. So the fact that you kind of ran your own show from the beginning, that's huge, man. And again, nothing wrong with school, but there's so much out here that people can come. My statement is try life on. People got to get out here and try life on a bit, try some new things, whether it's the business side or going to live your life, travel, try new businesses, etc. Leaving a lot on the table.
I think that we underexpose young people to the world. And it is my father used to say all the time to me, from the people to the people in 3 generations. The grandfather comes over, he works his butt off, he kills it. And then, it passes on to the son. The son lived through some of the hard stuff, but, the son doesn't want it to be as crazy as it was. He's not as hard and driven as the old man was.
Yeah.
And then the next generation, and his kid, the son's kids all go to private school. They don't work in the business. They're going to get, and the kids wind up inheriting the business, and they take and they blow the whole thing.
Yep.
And it happens all the time. It almost happened to me. I mean, believe me, my father brought me up hard because he didn't want me to be. I mean, he took me out of school when I was in 4th grade, and he hired a teacher to come teach me at home. And he sent me to work every morning from 7 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon, from the time I was 10 years old, 9 years old, all the way up until I graduated high school. I worked. My father believed in hard work. He believed that a man should have calluses on his hands.
Right.
So I dug ditches and whatever else. My father, that's what he wanted for me, because he wanted me to see how work got done. And he told me a few things. One that I'll never forget is there's honor in all work. All work is honor.
Absolutely.
So I remember him telling me at one point, I have said this on this podcast a few times, son, I don't care if you grow up to be a floor sweeper. You be the best damn floor sweeper there is, because when you sweep that floor, that's a reflection of you and the standards you have for you. Will you do a half-ass job, or are you the kind of guy that does a great job, period, because that's what you do? Mm-hmm. And so he got drafted into the military in the Korean War. Mm-hmm. And so they gave him an IQ test. They sent him out to Sandia base out in New Mexico in the nuclear weapons program, and they gave him this little mailroom. Now, at the time, it was like the worst time in the universe for him. His father had just passed away. The business that that his father passed on to him was struggling, and the Army drove him nuts, because my father was a very efficient guy. And you've been in the military, it's not the most efficient organization in the universe, right? Like, we need this form in 12 copies of this form. Why? I don't know. But what copy goes there?
We do it anyway.
That's how we do it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's driving him nuts, and he's there and he doesn't want to be there and all this kind of stuff. So what happens? This mailroom that they gave him won commendation after commendation after commendation, because it was his mailroom.
Yeah.
And he was the only guy that worked there. And so it was his. Yeah. And that's just it. And that is so what's lost and missing right now, is that ownership of this work that I do, because we're given work in this life. It's something for us to do. And we can either do what they do now, which they take nothing from it, or what my father's generation did, which was they take so much of their personal value from that work that they do. It's such a thing. And so, I think that there's a good place for that if it's done properly. If your work doesn't consume you.
If it doesn't consume you.
If it's
I have a way for people to take what you just said and apply it to their life. I talk about these things called freedom principles, and one of them is freedom to execute on your purpose. Like, I didn't go be a police officer for money. That wasn't what I was doing. It was because I wanted to do something meaningful in the community, right? With your dad's example, any career should be a purpose or purposeful.
Yep.
Purpose can be the immigration rights attorney who graduated from, true story, immigration rights attorney who graduated from Yale. She could be making $500,000 at any firm, and she chooses to make 70 grand because she loves immigration rights. That's absolutely a purpose.
Yeah.
For me, street cop was a purpose. But if you don't like your career, or if you feel like you're just making a check, then make it purposeful. Take those 2 paychecks and systematically invest them into something else that will pay you down the road. Could be real estate. It could be an experience. It could be starting a business or being a solopreneur, but at least make that career purposeful, and don't take those 2 checks and systematically go buy consumer shit with it. Invest in something that's going to help. Don't get me wrong. Live too. Like, go to the movies, go out with the fellas. I'm not talking about that. But if you can systematically take those 2 paychecks over a long period of time, you can create something. That's what I did from 02 to 14 when I was doing the single family stuff. I had no idea what I was doing. It was inefficient. It sucked. I self-managed for way too long, but at least I was buying something with those paychecks. And it led to this place now where I'm in total control the way you are as well. So purpose or purposeful, that's what careers should be.
Well, I love it, because what you're talking about is what people often do, that idea of they buy things to medicate the pain.
That's exactly
of living a purposeless life. And
yes.
And so, like, I think about it all the time, and I say this all the time now, is that most people go through their life as in the passenger seat of their own life. Mm-hmm. They literally just sit there and kind of go along the rails of where their life, kind of the bumper cars of where they wind up.
Right.
As opposed to moving to the driver's seat and saying, hey, wait a second, what are we doing here? What is this about? They don't take the CEO role in their own life. They have their employee hat on, and they just simply do what's in front of them.
Yep.
And so that's moving to the CEO role has some good and some bad. The good news is that you now have some freedom to make decisions. You can take and choose what the big picture is, the why we're doing this, and you can drive toward it. But the other piece of it is all that responsibility that you've been sloughing off on, oh, the system, and oh, I didn't get this opportunity. That you have to now own.
You got to own it. Yeah.
That's on you.
Yep.
This is what life did to
No more
me.
excuses.
Next question is, what are you going to do about it? Because there's too many people that are quadriplegics that go out there and get tons of stuff done, that for any of us to sit here and complain, right? We got to go all in, and we just can't accept the excuses from ourselves. But it's very much about that moving from the passenger seat role where you're a victim of circumstance to you're the prime driver that's trying to take and squeeze out of this life every little bit out of yourself that you can.
I love that. I love that. And that's the whole mantra I've been trying to tell people. Like all those things that I mentioned to you, the travel, the cops, all those things, doing those things at the same time, is I just didn't want to get to the end and not have written a life book that I'm proud of.
Oh man, that's have you ever read Goggins' book?
I had audio. I've heard it on audio.
Yeah, me too.
It on Audible. Yeah.
Can't hurt me. At the very end of that audio book, he says something very similar. The book was good. I mean, that's a little bit maybe over the top.
Yeah, it's over the top. Yeah.
At the end, they're interviewing him, and he said to him, like, why do you try so hard? He says, well, look, I know when I go to God at the end, like, I know he knows everything, but I kind of feel like he's got this chart he pulls out, and it's like, all right, this is what you could have done, and this is what you actually did do. And he says, I want God to pull up my chart and go, oh wow.
Oh wow.
And I was like,
you did it all.
What a good way to go about it. Sit there and say, hey, look, this is what I've been given. And you know what? Maybe I wasn't the smartest guy. Maybe I wasn't the best looking. Maybe I wasn't any of these things. But you know what? I gave you the best return on this that I squeezed every little bit out that I could.
I didn't think about it that way because, I mean, you and I, 1 in a trillion chance to even be on this damn planet, to be on this blue marble. What are we going to do with it? Are we going to, this is what I keep telling people, I got no problem with working, but I can't conceive people sitting in a cubicle for 20 years and just 1/3 of your life is already gone sleeping. Now you're going to put the other 1/3 of your life inside of 4 walls. That's a tough thing for me to see. But the Goggins thing, I actually, where did I get that from? Gary Vaynerchuk made a statement one day. Get down. Gary Vaynerchuk made a statement one day. He said, go spend some time in that's my puppy. Go spend some time in a retirement home. Go ask them questions and see what they say. And I did it for 3 days. I volunteered. There were some bangers in there. CEOs, mothers of 8 kids, all that. Not one of them ever talked about their money. Not one of them ever talked about their job. It was always what they didn't do.
Yep.
It was always what they didn't do. The girl or guy they didn't ask out, the business they didn't start, the country they didn't visit, all that stuff. So that's why I have even more push to just go try stuff out, do more business with people like Josh, try more real estate, go fail at doing Mediterranean real estate just because I'm still struggling just to get past the language barrier. Where I am, it's Turkish Cyprus. So it's things are done in Turkish. But that's okay. I'm giving it a shot and I'm out there and I'm trying to do life my own way and write that book as we were talking about.
That's right. No, because every single day you do write a brand new page in that book 100%. That we're given, that is life. Yeah. And so, there's the people get locked up in the past. You can't do anything about the past. Do I have regrets? Absolutely. I should have asked her out, man. I should have asked her out. Like I have those regrets. I do. Yeah. But I can't do anything with that except to let it inform my decisions going forward. I don't want that. I don't like that. I want something different. That means I got to do something different. That's it. That's where it changes today. And the fact that we write the history of our lives every single day is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Every single day we're filling out that book.
Yep.
And so we're given a brand new blank, beautiful page every single day. So I could choose to take and do it in Crayola. Or I could sit here and choose the best pens, the finest inks, and the best prose to put down so that when I look back, I can sit there and say, that was a good day.
Yeah, that was a good day. And that was a good chapter. And that was at the ultimate end. That was a good life. I think a lot of this stuff of, people who do what we do, inherently, that's what they're trying to do. That's what
Absolutely.
I never really thought that coming in. I thought it was really a money chase and things of that nature. No, people are trying to live unique lives in unique ways. And all they're doing is going after challenges. And many of those challenges result in money.
Yep.
Or experiences or friendships or relationships or what have you. So
True thing. No, I mean, I think back to, I think back, one of the thoughts that always kind of comes to mind to keep me on task is, what are they going to say at the funeral?
Yep.
What are they going to say? Because I know when my father passed away, I know the people that came from all over who I didn't expect, didn't realize, and I'm not even sure he knew, who said the things that he did that absolutely made all the difference to them in their lives. And, the one guy who was just sick and, oftentimes thought about ending his life, and my father would just send flowers at just the right time or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was just who my dad was. And my dad, like, you would think, cold, hard capitalist businessman from New York, on the docks, first name basis with all the Tonys and Guidos in there. And, if not directly connected, quasi connected, but
yeah,
people's lives were better and different because he was a great boss, because he was a hardworking guy, and so, seeing that idea of legacy, that idea of, I'll tell you one story. There was a young girl my parents adopted, and she was kind of an older sister to me because she came along before I was born, and she had a really, really tough childhood. But my parents took her in and raised her and whatever. Anyway, she had 3 kids, and her youngest daughter had all kinds of issues: Down syndrome, had a feeding tube in her stomach. I mean, just really, really not good. And she went, of the 3 kids, she went up going on to be like the most successful of the 3 of them, with all the stuff against her. Wasn't even 5 foot tall, wound up being a manager at a restaurant, moving up into corporate, did really well for herself.
Yeah.
And we're talking to her one day, and she said, oh yeah, the way that I did this is because I always remembered something that my mom said to her. She told her you could do anything you put your mind to. And so she did. And I mean, it's idea,
that simple, actually.
Yeah, but the idea that somebody could say something at just that right time to get caught and held on to by somebody else and change their entire life. It's one of the reasons why I speak, man. The hope that I can maybe one day duplicate that for somebody and make it better. Let them catch the fire and go and find out what they're capable of, as opposed to all these other people that I see that are capable of so much and prisoners of themselves.
Yeah.
Just, it crushes me. All right. Well, we definitely gone on tangents. So let me ask you this, Maurice. What do you like best about what you do, man? Nice, easy question. Right?
You know what, man? Right. I think I went all the way back to first grade and came back in a thought. But I think because I wasn't supposed to be here, like all the problem solving, the problem solving around deals is a beautiful thing.
No, yeah.
It's not a money thing. It is a, how do you extract, now I'm sounding like a fucking TV commercial. It is doing great things. It's doing great things with great people. You can, like, we just closed on an apartment complex. We're gonna improve 210 units, Houston, Texas. That apartment complex, we're going to take it from like a C quality to like a B quality. Okay. The rents will go up probably $300 over a period of 5 years. Very, very reasonable. It'll stay affordable. Those people will get countertops, hardwood floors, beautiful appliances, a new pool, a dog park, renovated parking lot. Like, you are giving people a better place to call home.
Yeah.
That's number 1. 2, I can take investors' money and make it grow. Double their money in 5 years or less is always my target. That's number 2. And then 3, I'm literally creating legacy and wealth for my family. I'm an immigrant kid. I'm not supposed to be here. My father's statement to me going to college was, I did my job. I got you to college. It's your turn now. I agree with him, because especially being an immigrant, we didn't have any money or whatever. Get there. So now I'm here. And now I can show my kids a whole different way of what I'm trying to do on their behalf, right? That's what I love about it. Like I feel in total control. I can do what I want, when I want, how I want, with whom I want, but yet I'm still working my ass off every day because I love it that much.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You always have work stacked, backed up, piled up to do.
Yep.
But you love it. And what's better than that? It's like the best, it's like the best ice cream sundae that's not going to make you gain weight. Like, I mean, it's like a win-win-win.
But you remember, it goes back to what you said, Josh, ownership. I'm so proud and protective of what me and my partners have built. And then my own, I call myself a lifestyle designer, my own designed life of, I want no employees, no buildings, no brick and mortar, no titles, no, like everything we do is in a virtual sense. So when I do want to pick up this laptop and my cell phone over there and drop myself in Cyprus or in Turkey or in France, where I'm typically go, I can go there for 4 months at a time and not lose a beat. You can design, if you have ownership of what you do on a day-to-day basis, you can build that business or that employment on top of whatever your personal blueprint is that you want. So if you don't want to have any employees, you want to be mobile in the world, you want to see a lot of different countries, then build whatever it is you're doing around that. Don't just do it by default. Someone tried to sell me a Subway sandwich shop because I had the notion of it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did, I said, no, I don't want to do that anymore, because I like my flexibility to be able to get up and go. Now I could hire a manager and they would take care of it and all that, but I know what I want my life to be. When you have ownership of the work that you do, you can create that lifestyle for yourself. That's why I'm happy getting up every day, because I've created something. I am proud of myself for what I've created, but more so that I'm doing things to help other people create their version of it at this point.
Love it. Love it. So what do you think about you that created, what do you think it is about you that created this edge to go out there and make this happen, man?
Two things happened to me. One, when I was 15, my father sent me on a trip to France for 30 days with an exchange student who stayed with me the previous summer. Think about this, inner city Boston kid being driven around in a stick shift Range Rover in France in 1990. It changed me. It made me understand that the world is bigger than Boston. There are more possibilities than just playing basketball professionally. There are people who speak these other languages. There are women who sound incredibly attractive with all these accents. I was like, what the hell is out in this world? So that was the first thing. That's what ended up getting me to 100 countries. The second thing was finding real estate and that term passive income. It wasn't about the money. It was, I recognized that you could create revenue without physically having to be somewhere.
Passive income are the two most beautiful words in the English language, man. I love it.
That's it. And then I developed along the way the ability to just do shit and course correct. I was never afraid of anything. So like the Mediterranean stuff, I'm just trying it. Being a street cop, I just tried it and it worked. Trying out for the NFL, tried it, didn't work. That's okay. I developed that solid ability to just like, you want that? Go do that. And if you fail, it doesn't matter. You gave it a shot. Now go do the next. I failed opening 2 coffee shops and 3 restaurants in DC. Flat on my face, dude. 6 figures, poof, gone.
Yep.
But I'm okay with all of it because I have built the habit for myself. I have built the habit of trying on new things in life, whether it's business or personal related, here or there. I think anyone can take that and turn it into something beautiful for their own life.
I agree. No, we build and we build into ourselves. I lost 2 restaurants myself.
Right on, bro. It's tough.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I mean, I was in there every day doing it, man. And man, lost over $1 million, 2008, lost over $1 million, got my ass handed, basically lost everything and had to start all over again. But
you know what, just as I'm, I've learned a little bit about you just doing some research, but just as you said that didn't surprise me. When you say I lost and I had to rebuild everything, because you already had the skill set that you could rebuild it. I think that's where all the instant millionaire shit is killing people, because even if you get a windfall, people haven't learned the skills to actually build something, maintain it, and multiply it. They just get it, and do what commercials tell them, which is go buy this, go
Blow
buy
it.
that, or waste it, or whatever. So when you said that, I was immediately like, no, that sounds exactly right. Just because of the style of person you are, you could rebuild it.
Well, I mean, this is a society right now that is looking for a hack. Everything is about hacking this
Everything.
and hacking that. How about this? I got a hack for you. Do the work.
Do the work.
That's the hack. Because you spend so much time freaking trying to figure out how to hack it that you could have done the work 3 times over and be done already. I mean, I look back at my life, and I look back specifically, I look at my dad, and my dad was, I always felt like my dad was playing chess while I was playing checkers. Like he was 5 moves ahead of me. And like, I didn't realize. And so like he would put me in positions to let me struggle and make me squirm because he knew that I needed that resilience to build up. That's a muscle. It's a habit. I mean, in the military, they put you in bad situations. They make you push yourself beyond what you're capable of because you learn something about yourself.
Yep.
And that idea of defining yourself to yourself is such a big thing. You know, in the military, you go in as the guy that, well, I can't run. Well, guess what?
You're
By the
going
time
to.
you leave, you're a guy that can run. And you know you're a guy that somebody says, we got to run 5 miles. You know you're the kind of guy that's still standing at the end of 5 miles all of a sudden. You have been redefined to yourself. And especially for guys, the ladies, they're a little bit different in how they do this. Like they just do what has to be done. But guys need almost a battle, a challenge to take and drive them. And sometimes that battle within, that fight against me to see whether or not I got what it takes to still be standing at the end of this thing is an important one. And we got to fuel that competitive nature within ourselves. We've been shamed about everything masculine and manly about ourselves. But that idea of pushing ourselves for the sake of seeing if we're going to take it, how much we can take of incoming and still be standing, that's important. And, you know, whether that's foisted on me by situations, when I lost the restaurants, that was, again, they call it a gut check. Are you going to crumple to the mat? Are you going to start blaming I didn't cause the 2008 meltdown.
It just happened to us. We had to react to it.
I mean, I got wiped out. I mean, I had to deal with all the consequences, even though it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
The question I had to ask myself is the question I keep bringing up all the time. What was I going to do about it? So I had to get up and I had to start swinging. I mean, that line from the Rocky Balboa movie, I think is such a good one. Life's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Keep getting up.
How much you can take and keep moving forward. Yeah. And so I look back at all those things and I don't look at them as just things that I survived. I looked at them as lessons that kind of have built into me capacity. And that's always what I want because I know I'm my chief piece of production equipment, right? I
like that.
I am what I use. So if I'm a good CEO and I want to keep my chief piece of production equipment in service, what do? Well, I'm making sure I'm getting all the updates for it. I'm making sure I'm changing the oil. I'm making sure it has everything it needs to be in peak production. And that includes stress testing the system. And life has a way of doing this. I can't look at those as, a setback. You know what? It built me up so I could do this other thing that's even harder thing that's got to be.
There's no losses. There's just lessons.
They can be. You can either accept them as losses or take them as lessons.
Or take it as a lesson. Yeah, you're right. It's all a mindset. It's truly a choice.
It really is, you know. And so that to me is kind of the beauty of this whole thing is that, look, I can take it all on as a loss, or I could take it as I'm building myself up to be ready for something bigger, because I can tell you without those losses that I've taken in the past, I couldn't handle what I do.
We wouldn't be here.
I couldn't do it.
100%.
And so that to me is a big thing. So Maurice, if you were to take a kind of summarize maybe what the most important thing you've learned in the process of doing what you do, somebody that's that big takeaway for somebody that's maybe listening, what would you say the most important thing you've learned in the process of what you do is?
Humans have the ability to make extraordinary ordinary. We do. We have the ability to make extraordinary ordinary. And I'll give you 2 examples. One, I'll give you a lifestyle example and I'll give you a business example. I pattern myself, as I said, a lifestyle designer because my life is designed a particular way. I can get up and go at any moment for any reason and be in another country for any whatever. If it's a Wednesday and I feel some kind of way, I will probably get on a plane on a Thursday, fly to Izmir, Turkey, go to my favorite bar by the Aegean Sea, sit, read a book, and I'll come back on Monday. That may seem insane to most, but it is not to me. It's normal. And the way that it has become normal is I think about the airport as a bus station. I think about a plane as a bus with wings. There is not, we have built it up into this massive thing that, you must be taking a long trip or whatever. Well, there are books in the libraries on travel hacking that make things very cheap. Travel hacking is traveling for the least amount of money and the most amount of comfort. I do it all the time. So you go to Walmart on Saturday, I get on a plane and I fly to Turkey or France or the Finnish Arctic 5 times in 2019. That's the first one. The second thing in terms of making extraordinary ordinary, people. If you can connect yourself with people, amazing people, partner, they give value, you give value, then 1 + 1 isn't 2 anymore. 1 + 1 starts to be 3. And
Synergy.
you just create stuff. It is amazing. 2002 to 2015, that journey, I was probably 6 million of real estate. I did okay for myself. 6 million of real estate and 160 grand passive. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm very happy. But when I met my partners and started realizing to stop staying alone, because I was doing everything alone all the time, it's almost just over 200 million in under 3 years.
Congratulations, man. That's very nice.
Thank you. But it's not me. It's a collective. It's a lot of people, to include investors and stuff. I'm like, man, but those are the two things, right? We can make that's the thing. We can make extraordinary ordinary. It is literally just a choice. On the personal life side, I just do shit always. I have no fear. I don't care about people's opinions. I've gained that superpower. I don't care. I need to write this life book. So if I need to go to the Finnish Arctic tomorrow, I'm going. And on the business side, you can do anything you want. If you want to do real estate in the Mediterranean the way that I did, here's how I did it. I found someone who was already doing it. I got my ass on a plane and I went to his house and I spent time with him. And then three months later, we were on our first Mediterranean deal together.
I love it, man.
Make extraordinary ordinary. It's very simple.
Love it. Good stuff, man. So we've kind of looked down in the weeds a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. I think I have an idea where you might go with this, but I want to put the question out. What are you most proud of in business that you've accomplished?
It's going to sound like a commercial again, but helping other people.
Love it, man. I agree.
Again, that original journey that I did on my own, I'm grateful for it, for all the reasons you talked about already, which is you had to go through those trials and tribulations and some whatever. But I figured something out. And what I figured out was how to generate passive income and then how to go live. I live extremely well. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about experiences and meeting people around the world, including right here in good old Washington, D.C. I push myself to live as much as I can. On the business side, the way that we do business at Quattro Capital is we have what I call alliance members, or people who are trying to get into real estate. There were people who in my journey, business journey, real estate or otherwise, they put their hand down the ladder for me and they pulled me up. And I'm doing the same for people that I know. So the deal we just closed that I was referencing in Texas, that's a firefighter and his wife. They're amazing. Their first deal actually, they did a $10 million deal, but this was their first true real deal on their own, 25 million. And we're just about to close their third one at 39 million.
Nice. I love it.
It gives me joy to know that I can help people move the needle for their own family and their own goals and dreams and stuff like that. That's the best part about business. I get the money stuff, but there's no greater joy than seeing somebody else who is now capable and can do things on their own.
Good stuff. There's so much in there that I like. It's doing this thing well, doing this life well is just such an important journey to take. Get your head around. And so I couldn't agree more, man.
Thanks.
So, and the idea of forcing yourself to do life, that idea of pushing yourself even in your personal life is such a great idea, because again, why not get the most out of this thing that we can? We only got one. The sand in the hourglass is only going one direction.
Yep.
So why wouldn't I take and try to make every one of those grains of sand as meaningful as I possibly can? It's such good stuff. So let me ask that now we've gone from the weeds to 10,000 foot view.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick peek. A busy guy like you, obviously you always got stuff on the plate. I know I always got stuff, and I got a list. I got a list sitting
Yeah.
next to me of stuff that I got to get done because lists are my friend, and lists make me have to do more. I make lists to get more out of myself because this is me trying to hack me to get out of me more than it's what we do. But what's next for you? What's the next thing that you're excited about? The next project?
Well, the fun one. Oh, two things really. Okay, so I'll gloss over two things real quick. One was the Mediterranean thing.
Awesome.
I mentioned that I wanted to get over there and be a part of a community, so I'm happy about that. Two, I know nothing about the media industry, so I use law of attraction, if you want to call it that, but through LinkedIn and what have you, I met a couple people who are in that space, and I'm working on 2 media projects related to executive producing now. Again, I know shit about it. Nothing. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if I truly want to do it, but I need to try it. I don't like being at the top of the mountain. Like, I was top of the mountain in consulting, 25 years there, right? Take my ass right back to the bottom and go start as a police officer. Let me try that one. Okay, I get to a certain level and I'm like, I want to go. I just don't want to stay in one thing all the time. Oh yes, I know everything there is to know about life. No, I am very particular about being in the beginner's mindset and starting over. So hence the media thing for me is, I'm excited about it. And then lastly, I want to say this one thing. All those years of investing and buckling down and not making silly mistakes in terms of buying commercial crap and all that, I never really bought anything for myself. I still haven't bought a new car for myself. My '05 Infiniti is just fine. It's paid off. No. But the one thing that I am finally doing is investing in a home. And by that, I mean taking the resources that I worked my ass off for, and instead of buying a home 10 years ago when I could have, no, I just kept reinvesting it. And now I'm at a point where home prices are coming down. I can go buy the $3 million thing for $2 million and create something beautiful for my 9-year-old and his brother. So I am heavily investing in creating lifestyle at home that we don't need vacation from. So I'm excited about that.
Love it, man. That's great stuff. Great stuff. So what does a guy like you do to unwind?
Damn, that's a good question. I don't think I unwind. The gym, I'm still the 4 a.m. guy, right? Oh, wow. 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. is my prime time. So unwinding for me is probably going to the gym, but I'm always doing something related to lifestyle or business. And when I take a break, I feel like, because I love it so much and I have ownership the way you talked about, when I take a break, I feel like I'm not being efficient. Productive. Yeah, right word.
Yeah.
It just feel like I feel like, well, what am I doing? Why the hell am I watching Netflix? I can be upstairs looking at a deal or making a phone call with someone. But if it's family, I now have gotten much better at stopping what I'm doing when family is around and what have you. But other than that, I have zero qualms being on my hustle all the time. Zero.
I'm with you, bud. I'm with you.
I really enjoy it.
I mean, to me, that's one of the big disciplines to kind of keep in check, is making sure that I'm actually keeping that in balance, just because, again, I love it.
Yeah.
So I gotta make sure that I don't want to becoming a bit of an addict to it, because that sense of accomplishment is almost a drug. But when you say that you're with your family and stuff like that being truly present for those things and keeping it, because I mean, let's be honest, the whole thing of keeping this whole life in balance and all these different plates we have to keep spinning to do this thing well,
it's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Maurice, I want to be respectful of your time, because it's getting right near an hour at this point. If folks wanted to find you, they're like, man, that Maurice guy, he's awesome. Where can people find you?
Yeah, a couple of different places. So if you want to talk real estate and you're interested in doing syndication deals or what have you, it's just my company's called Quattro Capital. The website is The Quattro Way, QUATTROWAY, thequattroway.com. I am very active talking about business, how I leverage the W-2 to invest in all the real estate over the years, lifestyle design on LinkedIn. I talk about it constantly because I never talked about my journey when I was on it. I was being very cautious to not tell my company that I was a cop, tell the cop, the police agency that, like, I never told anyone anything.
Nobody knew anything. They had a whole bunch of girlfriends on the side, and none of them knew about each other.
Shh, we don't even tell them too. So find me on LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm there as well. It's just Maurice Philogene. And then from a coaching perspective, try Life On. The website will be up soon, but I coach people with respect to lifestyle design, deep diving into things like real estate if it's necessary. But the coaching is based off 5 principles: time freedom, financial freedom, geographic freedom, freedom to execute on your purpose, and freedom to build meaningful relationships with amazing people like Mr. Cadillac. So you can catch me at Try Life On if coaching is something that would make sense for you.
Awesome, Maurice. Thank you so much for your time and for coming on here. It was genuinely a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, man. My pleasure.